You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynn Galadner, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. On this podcast, we're going to talk about some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place and provide inspiration for others. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires everyone. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet here. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. Welcome back to the Make Meaning podcast. Today, I have the delight of speaking with someone who was a client early in my PR and marketing years, Julie Silver, who has a master's degree in social work from Wayne State University and is a board-certified acupuncturist registered in the state of Michigan. Julie completed her traditional Chinese medicine education at Midwest College of Oriental Medicine in Chicago. She is the founder of Michigan Associates of Acupuncture and Integrative Medicine in West Bloomfield, where I actually am a very avid client as well. So today I get to speak with Julie about her practice, her life, and her journey to make meaning and find purpose. Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast, Julie.
Hi, Lynn. Thanks so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. Oh, yes. I've always admired you. And in returning to become an acupuncture patient over the past few months, I was reminded about how deliberately and authentically you have built a brand and a message. And as a marketing consultant focused on business messaging, it makes me so happy every time I see your logo, every time I read something you email. So kudos to you on amazing business presence.
Well, thank you so much. Really, it comes so organically and, kind of has grown from the ground up versus from, something I've created instantaneously. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, what I'd like to do, and I think we can talk about that and how you do create the brand and the message and maintain it a little bit later in the show. But I wanted to start just by sharing with our listeners about your journey, what led you to study acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and maybe even educate our listeners a little bit about what that means and how it helps people. So that's a loaded question, but maybe we can start with how you found it and were inspired to build a career out of it.
Sure, absolutely. Acupuncture is actually my third career. I have a master's in social work, and shortly after I graduated, I moved from Michigan to Chicago and worked for about 8 to 10 years working with older adults. My specialty was gerontology.
Oh, wow.
And I worked a lot in retirement housing, helping them make transition from living on their own into a what would be called an independent living, but continuing care retirement community. I was the frontline person, and so over the years, that was a really gratifying career. And at some point, I, parlayed into more sales and marketing.
Sure.
In which I worked in healthcare sales. And actually what's interesting about that as I think it through is it was my dissatisfaction with the second career that got me into the third, which is acupuncture.
Wow.
I actually worked in nursing homes and hospitals. I was a sales rep selling therapy products, and that exposed me, largely in nursing homes,
sure,
within the city of Chicago, to just how really poor quality the care could be in a setting like that, as well as how nutrition and self-care, the importance of that in preventing people from ending up in a bad health situation. So for probably 5 or 6 years, I was doing that, and I just saw how bad things could get.
It's interesting because, we start out when we're younger thinking we know what we want to do, which as in my age now, I laugh because I think, how could I have known? And then our life journey takes us to places where it opens our eyes and sensibilities in ways that we can discover new paths and new passions, which it sounds like it happened for you.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, through seeing how poor care could get in at the same time myself being a patient of acupuncture. I was always a searcher.
Okay.
And having had some health issues in my life, I was always seeking out what would be more called preventative medicine.
Sure.
At that time, alternative medicine. I don't like to use that word, but
right.
So everything kind of came together, my dissatisfaction with, the state of healthcare, my own personal journey, and it all landed on my lap with a newspaper article in the Chicago Tribune in which I was reading that about an acupuncture school, and I had honestly never really thought about going or knew that there were schools, and and it all came together, and next thing I knew, I was registered as an acupuncture school.
So interesting that you were already a patient. What inspired you to first seek out acupuncture along your journey?
I think because of my own personal experience with the medical industry early on as a child, as well as the care that I saw, I was always seeking more holistic approaches. That was my first line of defense. So along with going to acupuncture, if I had a cold or I wasn't feeling well, or a lot of times stress, or, women's health issues, I would go for acupuncture, and it was just, the results were amazing. So, it was just, I became educated, and then soon enough I was able to educate others,
And I love that you don't want to use the word alternative because it makes it sound fringe or questionable. And, I follow the same philosophy that you do about health, very holistic and what is a natural approach before I take a heavily medicated approach. And I've always been like that as a parent, but also for myself. And I find I don't get sick as often as other people might. And I seek remedies or treatments that are compatible with the way the body heals itself. I mean, it's interesting because, and I don't know anything about the details here, but I had a girlfriend from college who, when she had her first child, she was from Taiwan. Her mother came over from Taiwan when the baby was born, stayed for a month, and was making her broths and teas and all different herbal remedies that she was taking to help her heal from the birth, produce milk for breastfeeding, and lose the weight. And within a month of having the baby, she was like back on track. And it just amazed me because it was all natural. It was all holistic,
Right.
And I think, I don't know if that ties in with traditional Chinese medicine, but there certainly are secrets in our nutrition and in nature and the way we live that help promote good health. I would,
Right, absolutely, yeah. Chinese medicine, I always say, we view the body a lot like a tree. We have lots of branches to our body, and we have lots of branches to the tree.
Sure.
If we just try to water one branch, the likelihood of the tree growing lessens. If we water the roots of the branch and the roots of the tree, the whole body flourishes. And that's how I view Chinese medicine, that we really have to look at and treat and understand the whole body.
That is beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
So you pivoted your career twice into your third career, and I'm sure people listening are still searching for their purpose or trying to figure out, am I on the right career path? How did you transition from one career to another? Do you have any reflections that could help our listeners?
Yeah. It's interesting as I think back, everything led up into the moment of transitioning, but the moment of transitioning was actually pretty harsh. The last job I had before I became an acupuncturist, I quit. I knew I wasn't happy. I knew that I wanted something else. The conditions under which I was not so much working under, but going into, and I mentioned nursing care and hospitals, and were just so upsetting to me that I literally walked in one day and I said, I'm done. I didn't have another job. I didn't have a full plan, but it was taking that leap of faith, I think, in a moment like where the organic world pushed me, that the world opened up. And really the same thing happened with my ending the retirement into the healthcare field, and I won't go into that, but it's a very similar situation where everything led up to that moment. The moment itself was harsh, but then again, the world kind of opened up and everything came together when I followed my gut.
That's really important, to trust your instincts and to look for the signs the universe is sending you, because they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They say leap and the net will appear.
Right, for sure.
So as we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, I've always been impressed with your thoughtful messaging and branding around your practice. And I hope that when we post this episode on our website, on the yourppl.com website, I can include your logo so I can show people how beautiful it is. But tell me a little bit about how you came to articulate your vision and the impact your practice has on patients so incredibly well.
Well, that's a good question. My vision and the development of my messaging has also happened and grown over a period of time. It wasn't, again, a wake up and go, I have everything.
Sure.
I started as a very small practice, i.e. just me.
Uh-huh.
I remember my first logo was actually a logo of a tree. And as you know now, it's not a tree.
Right.
It's unusual, but we'll leave that. But
yes.
But the point being is both the development of my branding, both from a visual as well as the messaging, has happened with a lot of heart and a lot of people involved, including my whole team here. And it keeps developing. I feel that our practice, and to have a successful practice and business, you never stop growing. You never stop learning. We never stop changing. And our behind the scenes, I will say, is very well-intentioned, of goodness and good health for people. And that drives us to give a message that is consistent and visually beautiful, and of course due to our wonderful graphic designer,
yes,
but also, with the heart and the consistency that goes with it. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And I wonder also, I think this probably ties into your messaging and your vision. I mean, I think it's how you create a sustainable practice that thrives. But I know that you've had, some of the people on your team really a long time, and that consistency and that loyalty and duration says that you're doing something right as a practice and as a leader. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom for our listeners about how to manage well, how to lead your team so that everybody succeeds?
Look, that too is a loaded question.
Sorry.
I think that I take good care of my team members. I would say financially and providing a really comfortable work environment,
sure,
and a happy place to go to work. I take our practice very seriously. We do a lot of marketing. And I say everybody, but the business itself, we've invested a lot in,
sure,
social media and our website. And I, as a business owner, I'm constantly kind of behind the scenes prodding and pushing, some may say,
sure,
everybody on the team to continue to do the legwork to build the practice. But I think for the most part, what I can tell, when I'm not being completely annoying, everybody does like coming to work.
Yeah.
Everybody does like coming here. And we do. We have, everywhere. Monica has been here 13 years, and, our more newer acupuncturist is starting her 4th year.
Okay.
And we're actually looking for a 5th. So
oh, wow.
I'm hoping to find another person who wants to jump on the ship for a long period of time.
Sure. Yeah, I will tell you, when I decided to go back to acupuncture, I just immediately called because I'd been there before, and I really trust you in your practice. And there is a practice much closer to where I live that is actually even a little less expensive. And yours is not expensive. I don't mean to say that, but I wouldn't even consider it because I just know that I trust your brand and your expertise so much that it doesn't matter where I live. I'm going to drive to come to your practice because I just love the way that I feel when I go there. And that's priceless. I just really commend you on what you've built, and it's quite inspiring.
Thank you. That's a nice compliment. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I was thinking about how we talked about this a little bit earlier too, but that, often in Western society, people sort of look askew at Eastern medicine or something, a practice that's unfamiliar within the realm of Western medicine. And so I wondered what your thoughts are about how the importance of remaining open to other ways of doing things and even other belief systems to sort of create your own menu of what works for your total health. I mean, how doesn't that tie into philosophy and being open to possibilities?
I think that's an ideal, is that people are open and people do take responsibility for their health. And I will say that it's interesting in different parts of the country, we find that people are more aware of their choices, and, that acupuncture and other modalities are more of an integrated part. Michigan and this area, although we've come a really long way, I've been doing this 18 years, there's still a real conservative skeptic nature in general, and a doctor-driven mentality and even more importantly, an insurance-driven mentality, which is, also a very changing landscape that makes things a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
I think not so much to build a practice, but we're constantly educating people and in a very basic way, which, is not always the case.
Right.
Again, different areas.
Right. Well, it's interesting too, because I think some modes of medical treatment are treating symptoms. Others are treating, like you said, the roots, and really getting to what's underlying a sickness or an unease. And I think it's so important to think about, what is at the root cause of this state of being, and how can we change that so that we really do reach true health,
Yeah.
So I wonder, I've been thinking a lot about how our society is so, quote unquote sick, whether it's obesity or some of the illnesses that come with the way we live, the way we eat, the sedentary lifestyles we have and all of that. And then I started feeling a little more philosophical and was wondering what you think, is that really an outcome of not being true to ourselves or not trusting that inner voice? Or what are your thoughts about that, about the state of ill health in our country right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it is a very complex issue.
Yeah.
Let's take obesity, for example, in women, because that's of interest to me.
Sure.
A lot of times we'll see women of my age, in my 50s, that are obese, but it isn't only eating. I mean, it's a complex nature
Sure.
of diet, of hormones, of inflammation in the body, of metabolic issues, oftentimes autoimmune, that parlay. So I think that, and that's from the inside out, and then we have the outside in, which is, like you said, the environment.
Sure.
Breathing in air that's toxic, exposure to chemicals, stress. I mean, there's so many variables. And there isn't really any one answer. I don't think everybody's different. Everybody's body's different.
Yeah.
I think it's a whole body approach, which does definitely include traditional medicine as well as what I like to call complementary medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just your own menu of treatments and practices that work for you. I mean, meditation is a huge health builder. I regularly hike in nature, no matter what the weather is, because it just restores my energy and enthusiasm and perspective, frankly. And I'm sure it does wonders for my health. So I think there are so many things we can do to lead ourselves in the direction of positive health and lasting health as well. So go ahead, Julie. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that really has become important to me in my life is having gratitude.
Yeah.
And I work hard every day at developing a gratitude list.
Oh.
And I come to work and I really try to come from that place with my team members. Again, not always perfect, but there have been a number of studies that have shown that actually practicing gratitude can affect not just our emotional being, but our physical being.
Really?
So, and it's such a simple tool to, to make a list of what we're grateful for every day.
So you do this every morning?
I do.
And then what do you do with it? Do you just sort of keep it with you, or do you share it, or how do you?
Well, I have two things. One is I do my own gratitude list in a little notebook, but I also have a texting group, and we text our gratitude list to each other every day.
That is so nice.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's really important. And that also speaks volumes about the people you surround yourself with that do either complement or trigger health reactions too, right? It's really important to choose who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
make positive choices, set healthy boundaries.
Yeah. And share your gratitude with others who are doing the same. I love that.
Absolutely. Right.
So, Julie Silver, I wanted to ask you before we finish our lovely conversation today, if you have any advice to give our listeners about how they can find their meaning or build their purpose, either through their work or through their lives.
I would say, again, there is not any one thing. I would say one day at a time. Take life one day at a time. Don't run away from difficult feelings and times in our life or your life. It's important to cultivate the tools and resources that will support each of us in getting through difficult times.
Yes.
Physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually will make everything easier. I think that we are complex human beings. We live in a complex world, and we need a multitude of resources, and I don't even mean financial at all. I mean within our toolbox to lead a healthy life, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
So take it slow, one day at a time, and it all works out.
I love it. Wonderful wisdom and wonderful words to end on. So Julie Silver, president and founder of Michigan Associates of Acupuncture and Integrative Medicine, thank you so much for being on the Make Meaning podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you on my gratitude list today.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so grateful. Wonderful. Thank you all for listening to the Make Meaning podcast. Thanks for listening to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynn Golodner, and I've really enjoyed being here with you today. You can find the Make Meaning podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and I'd love it if you'd share our great conversations with all your people so we can add meaning wherever we go and whatever we do.